My presentation at the Nordic Research Council for Criminology's research seminar will be about my current PhD project on opportunities and challenges associated with resocializing sex offenders in Greenland. The next couple of minutes will be an introduction on why this is worth investigating. My name is Mathilde Salskov Sams, and I'm a PhD student at Elise Matussefik, the University of Greenland, and Aalborg University of Denmark. Greenland has a population of about 56,000 inhabitants who live in a geographically large area. The latest population survey showed that the proportion of a birth cohort who has been sexually abused before the age of 18 has decreased from 43% in the 1970-1979 cohort to 20% in the 1995 cohort and later. There is apparently a decrease in the proportion of children and young people who have been subjected to sexually abuse, but the proportion is still very high compared to most other countries. In recent years, there has been an increased focus on sexual abuse, and this itself may contribute to increasing the propensity to report. This means that in recent years there has been an increasing number of reports of abuse. Despite the increasing reports, there is presumably still a large number of underreported sexual abuse of children. This is why the actual number of unpunished offenders is not known. Some of these offenders are not being prosecuted due to underreporting, and those who are prosecuted will be released back to the society after their sentence. The small communities are often isolated from one another due to the country's size and the uneasy infrastructure. Victims of sexual offences and offenders must therefore live side by side within the same local area. Due to the small size of the communities, victims and released perpetrators will continue to meet each other. That is why a void exists on how to resolve the unavoidable conflicts between victim and offender and the rest of society. Once a perpetrator has served time in an institution, that person must return to society. People who have sexually abused children can fall back into the same crime if they do not receive proper support and treatment. It is therefore necessary to investigate which resocializing efforts are needed and can be practiced in Greenland. The project focuses on convicted perpetrators over at the age of 18. Greenland's courts and district courts can impose sanctions and objectively place blame and responsibility on an offender, but they are seldom suitable for resolving conflicts or ensuring coexistence between victim and offender, unpunished or not. How and which purpose a society reacts towards crime can be divided into three possible purposes: the repressive purpose, the general preventive purpose, and the individual preventive purpose. The individual preventive purpose will reduce the risk of a perpetrator committing crime again, either by trying to incarcerate the perpetrator or by trying to resocialize. In Greenland, it was the individual preventive purpose which was given the highest weight in the criminal justice system. Since 1954, the criminal law had resocialization as a core principle. This means when the court has established the defendant committed a crime and there has to be measured a kind of sanction, it should be emphasized, other than the seriousness of the offense, which punishment would fit the perpetrator the best. This changed in 2010, where the criminal law now has a balance between the perpetrator's personal circumstances, but also the seriousness of the offense. As the project is intended to assess the opportunities and challenges of resocializing efforts for people with sexually abusive behavior towards children, and whether the practices can be carried out in a Greenlandic context, knowledge gathering is taking place via semi-structured interviews with key informants with knowledge about sexual offenders. By resocialization means actions which helps an offender restore a normal life in society and not repeat their crime. Resocializing a person with sexually abusive behavior towards children is not an isolated event in a society, but on the contrary depends on several factors. Therefore, the analysis and subsequent recommendations will consider both challenges and opportunities at several levels. Thank you for your time.